recording right
Yeah,
now?
it's all good to go.
Is this
It's all good to go.
live?
It is. It's not, but it's live for us. Okay, so you're doing
Yeah.
better in some ways. You said. In
Yeah,
what
well,
ways?
I mean, I felt really destabilized at the beginning of this year, and I feel like a lot of that was because of in some way, I think it was because of like the long meditation retreat that I had done last year.
Mm.
And then also, like getting married very shortly after that, and just not knowing where I was going to be living and stuff. And now that I've been living in the same place for like 10 months, and I've been back in July, I started going to the pool pretty regularly and going swimming, and I feel like that physical activity has been really good. So I don't feel as just kind of like internally disoriented or whatever, I guess.
Getting some routines in.
Yeah,
Stuff like that.
getting some routines in and stuff like that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Do you always get up super early? Is it because of work, or are you just like an early bird type person? Or were you just getting up early to accommodate me for the time difference?
No, yeah, I was just getting up early to accommodate you. Well,
Okay.
I don't know what is early for you as far as like getting up times go.
I mean, 6 is pretty early for me. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
6
people
is,
who get up at like
I mean,
5 or something, I'm like, I don't
yeah,
really do that personally, but
yeah.
I like the night too much. Like, I love when it's dark out and nobody's awake, and
You just like creep around in people's
yeah,
backyards and
yeah,
steal
sometimes.
their shit and stuff. No.
Sometimes. Yeah, you don't want to be my neighbor, man. No, I'm joking. I'm a great neighbor. I'm a wonderful neighbor.
Oh, I'm sure you are.
Love your neighbor as yourself. Yeah, that's me.
Yeah. You get a lot of self-love. So I was thinking about this conversation, about this podcast, whatever. And because you had asked me if I had any topics in mind, I'm like, no, not really. Let's just wing it. So I want to turn the tables on you a little bit.
Ooh.
I want to ask you some questions.
Okay, hell yeah.
Yeah. So,
wait, I have to say this. Welcome to Sitting with Sam,
yeah.
Luke,
Oh,
or Sitting with Luke in this case, but it doesn't have the same like.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense because it's under the Sitting with Sam podcast heading as far as looking for it on Spotify or YouTube or whatever.
You're the host now.
Oh well, I mean we can switch off back and forth as we go, but anyway.
Sounds good.
I remember not too long ago in DMs or somewhere, between you and I, there was something I shared with you, and you were like, oh, I miss Jesus, or I miss that feeling, or something like that. And yeah, I guess so. There is the question there for me of like, I know that you were raised in a rather particular or peculiar, family, sort of being part of a type of Christianity that didn't really gel with who you've become as you've become an adult.
Yeah.
But do you feel like having separated yourself from that expression of faith, do you feel like that has cut at the very root of all faith for you, or where do you find yourself with that?
That's a good question. Kind of. I think kind of the way I think about it is like I had to kind of undergo a deconstruction that went at the whole thing. And I think now, so this was like 5 years ago, or it started 5 years ago. And I think like now I'm kind of maybe ready to rebuild some of those things. But I did kind of have to. It did kind of strike at the root of all faith. I would say, just because like growing up, that's what faith was for me. It was very much the idea of like, okay, this is the correct way of interpreting the Bible, and therefore interpreting God, and therefore interpreting like this whole worldview, which includes faith and everything. It's all downstream, kind of from your interpretation of the Bible in this case. Um, so I think when I told you like I miss Jesus or something, it's kind of like, for basically up until I was like 20, I would have a relationship with something, even if it was just in my head or something, but it's still, even if it's just like an imaginary friend, it's like,
Yeah.
I talk to this thing. I don't want to saying this thing feels like, demean. Like, I don't want to be, uh,
You're not
yeah,
going to offend me.
I'm not going to offend you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But even if Jesus was an imaginary friend or something,
Hmm.
I did
Hmm.
talk with him, and I did
Yeah.
share everything with him, and I did ask for forgiveness a bunch of times, but also like, I said a bunch of happy prayers and thankful prayers and everything. And I
Hmm.
think deconstructing that, at least initially, was like, yeah, all of this is kind of up for question. So I'm not gonna be praying anymore to uh like anyone. Yeah, I'll stop answering. Like, this is my answer.
Okay. Fair enough.
um, yeah.
I guess like the way that you're saying like that you're going to stop answering now, it makes me like, is it okay for me to ask more probing
Oh yeah, yeah,
questions,
yeah,
or do you
yeah.
just feel uncomfortable
I'm an open
talking about
book.
it and you just want to like
I
stop
just
right
sometimes feel
there,
like I'm
that kind of thing?
rambling. It's more
Oh,
like,
okay.
oh, I'm rambling. Let me
Well,
stop
so
thing.
let me pivot then, away from that kind of topic in general
Yeah.
to
Okay.
a slightly different but somewhat all right, mysticism.
Mm.
uh, I want to know, and maybe some of these things are too personal, too intimate, that you don't want to really talk about the details, but
Try me.
I am curious. um, have you had what you could categorize as, like some sort, or variety of mystical experiences in your life?
My answer is really boring because
Mm.
I haven't when I was sober. um, I did ayahuasca once,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know if I wouldn't count that. I wouldn't categorize that as a mystical experience. I would categorize that as a psychedelic experience.
Right.
Um, that's actually one thing though that I think about sometimes, because also after talking with you about, you know, maybe you would call it an NDA or NDE, sorry, near death experience or something, you have something that you can talk about. Me, in all my years of being a believer and believing in the mysterious and the mystical and the supernatural, I never had like any experience that would, like, anything at all. I guess you could say
You
like
never
maybe
even had
sometimes
like the feeling of like you'd been praying about something really hard, and then that prayer was answered,
I
even
was
if it was
just gonna
like maybe
say,
an answer
yeah.
that came in a dream or something. Or sorry,
I
I
was
cut you
just
off.
gonna say, no, 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 you're fine.
Yeah.
Like maybe like answered prayers
Uh-huh.
in some way, but then again, it's like looking at it now, I would be like, it's obviously like a very biased thing, right? Like if you pray for something, then it happens to come true in
Mm-hmm.
some way. It's like, okay, yeah, the prayer worked. But then all the times where it doesn't work, it's like you're kind of discounting those. But it was never like I had a prayer answered in like a way where it was like, oh, of course this was the prayer, because my life
Mm-hmm.
was very like like I want to say normal for like I was never like in a situation where I was like I can't get out of this at all. And then I fell on my knees, and all of a sudden I had like an answer or something. I never had anything like that. Mm, yeah, unfortunately, or maybe,
Your life is just too comfortable, right?
maybe.
This is the European conundrum. Everything's all set up. You get a stable social safety net, right?
Maybe that's why Europe is kind of atheist. We have public transit and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
You don't need God when you got a good train system and
when
a
you
welfare
got a good
state,
subway,
right?
like yeah. I don't know. But have you? I mean, have you had those things? Except, I mean, the thing that we talked about, right? When you maybe had your vision or your near-death experience. Did you have like other things? Did you ever have like a prayer where it was like, okay, this had to have been the prayer?
Oh
Or
yeah.
really?
Yeah. So one example of this is so in 2013 I was in a relationship, and it was kind of shit or get off the pot time. I hope that language is acceptable. But as
Anything.
far as just like whether we should get married or not, and honestly, like being with her, I was having like monthly anxiety attacks just being in the relationship. I think now, like having years and years of retrospect to look at it, I think it was. I honestly think that it may have been a matter of my heart was trying to grow, but it was too tightly wrapped by like the vines of my mind or whatever, and so that like because it was like in my chest anxiety, like so I think so yeah, honestly I feel like those anxiety attacks may have just been like I couldn't, my heart couldn't meet the situation, and it just hurt. But anyway, so at the time, I was really wanting to go on this adventure of walking across the country. And so I was really praying hard, and it wasn't any kind of a formal prayer or even like specifically, asking God or asking Jesus, but just this really, really deep, this really, really, really deep need to know, like, should I stay with her or should I go on this walk? And then one night, just really, I could feel like all of myself really, just like needing an answer. And I guess, just like as a sideline within this topic, like I don't pray that way most of the time in my daily life these days, because I am comfortable enough. Like I don't have an unanswered question or a burning desire to like find some important truth. But at that point, I really needed to know, like, what am I supposed to do? What's the right thing to do here? Do I stay with her, or do I go and I do this other thing? And then like, and this is the way that I get things sometimes, is just like as I was waking up that next morning, just it was like I had just been given the answer, and it was open road, sacred blessings. And as soon as I received that, like as I'm waking up and that was the message that had come in, I'm like, okay, well that's it. Like it's
like you had those
now.
words.
Like,
those words were in your mind? Okay.
Yeah, like those words were just, they were just in my mind, like they had just been given to me. And I didn't have a vision of anyone or anything in particular. It was just, I just woke up with those words in mind, and it felt like it felt like that was just like the answer that had been given. And I'm like, and then once I had that, I just felt settled. I'm like, okay, that's, and then shortly after that we had the conversation, and I'm just like, look, once we're done with what we're doing now, we were working on a blueberry field. I'm like, once the season here is over, we're gonna go our separate ways, and I'm gonna start getting ready to go on my journey, and that's what I did, you know. So
But I
yeah,
feel like you're
so that's one example of a way in which I felt like, you know, like prayer has been answered for me. Yeah.
I don't want to. I feel like you're giving yourself not enough credit though. I feel like, isn't it entirely plausible that because you had this internal stirring happening, that you obviously had the question, and then you know how the phrase like I'll sleep on it or something, it's like it's there for a reason, right? So
Yeah.
maybe I'm like being too naturalistic, but I mean, isn't it plausible that you just you had the answer
Well, I
inside of
mean,
you?
sure. Yeah. I mean, that is a plausible thing. So here's another part to to that bigger story, right? Is like, then, you know, like the day that a few weeks later, once things were done on the farm, as we were getting ready to go our separate ways, you know, like the last night that we slept in the same bed together, I had a vision, and it was of, you know, like the paisley design, you know, like on a bandana, or, you know, it looks kind of like a leaf or whatever.
Okay.
It's all over like shirts and bandanas and
Okay.
things. Anyway, so I in this like dream state, just before I'm waking up, I have this vision of like this paisley, and it's like there are these two dots on either side of the paisley, kind of like a diagram of wind going over a wing, you know, how it shows how the air molecules are separated and they come back together. And so I see these two dots traveling around this paisley, and the message that comes with it is that it all comes back around to love, you know. And it definitely it came with this felt sense of like, you know, even though we're separating like in the fullness of cosmic time or whatever, like, you know, like it's all about the love, and it's and the coming together happens in its own time and in its own way. And
You're just
I
a
wasn't.
visionary guy, man.
Sometimes, yeah. But then, you know, and then, you know, months later, as I was leaving Tennessee I knew, so I stayed in Tennessee for the rest of that year at a different place with someone else, and at a certain point, I had another dream, and I was told it's time to go to Dalton, and so as far as this question of, is it just coming from me, or is it something else guiding me? So, and as soon as I got that dream, I knew what it meant, and I also knew that it meant that I needed to like shift gears from like living in the winter up in the mountains to heading down to Florida to like actually start getting ready. And this whole thing with Dalton was that my aunt and my uncle, they lived in Dalton, Georgia. And I hadn't thought about visiting them at all, but it was like, I'm like, okay, well, I guess I need to go and say hi and tell them what I'm doing. And I went and I said hi and I told them what I'm doing. And my uncle, he's sitting in his recliner watching TV or whatever, and I tell him that I'm getting ready to go on this walk across the country. And as soon as I say it, he just like stands up, reaches over to his bookcase, and hands me A Walk Across America, Volume 1 and Volume 2, written by this guy from like the 70s who had gone on a walk across the country. Like, whoever gave me this message, like, knew that if I go to my uncle and I tell him what I'm doing, he's going to just hand me these books. And these books are like a guide of like, you know, one person's experience in doing the thing that I'm doing. And yeah, you know. And
That is pretty amazing.
So yeah, I mean, and I'm not gonna recount like all of the different like synchronicities and things that happen on the walk itself, but the walk itself for me was very much, I I guess you could say, like a test of faith, or stepping more fully into this kind of faith. Because, it's like, and I always tell this story when I talk about the walk, but, when Jesus in the Gospels talks about, like, why would you worry about what you're going to eat or what you're going to wear? Like, I take care of the birds, I take care of the flowers, like, or, God takes care of these things, you're not lesser than them. Why would he not take care of you as well? And on that walk, I was very much, taken care of, provided for. Like, I didn't have enough resources to go as far as I went, but as I went, things were given to me, places to stay, food, money, lots of things. And by the time I was done, I was even turning money away sometimes, because I'm like, no, you don't need to worry about it. I've got enough. I've got plenty to get where I'm going. So yeah, I mean.
So how would you diagnose me then? Like, do these things also happen to me and I'm just not seeing them? Do they not happen to me because I don't have like the faith, or do?
Yeah, well, so I think. Well, I don't know what all of what's happening to you. I think there is a combination of maybe there are things that are happening that you don't recognize in that way, and also, so I feel like people give circular logic a bad rap sometimes. They're like, "Oh, circular logic is bad because it's circular," and it's like, yeah, well,
okay, what's the good argument for it?
So the good argument for it is that, how they say that believing is seeing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
seeing is
also
believing, right?
seeing is believing. Yeah. Like, and so the more you believe, the more you see, and the more you see, the more you believe. Like, it's a self-reinforcing loop. So I do, and like, it's kind of like, with meditation or with studying mathematics, or with anything really, like what you train your attention to becomes the thing that you become more and more aware of,
But it's like a confirmation biasy thing, no? It's like your perception is more attuned to seeing a certain pattern or something, but it doesn't necessarily say anything about reality or something, right?
Sure. Yeah. No, I mean, the reality is a tricky one, because, for most people, like, living in this world that we live in, like, it feels very real, but then at the same time, you listen to enough people that have had near-death experiences or whatever, and they're like, whoa, like, wherever I was, like, reality there is, like, way more real than, like, reality here, so. And while I may have been in that kind of reality, I don't have any memories of it, so I can't really speak to it from personal experience. But, like, if you could ask a video game character in its video game, it would believe that the world that it's playing in is its reality. So,
true.
but I guess my argument would be, like, if you want, and maybe you don't, but if you want your life to be magical, if you want to feel like there is a connection to the divine in your life, and that someone is there walking with you, or leading you, or holding your hand, like, looking for the signs of that, and when you see them, appreciating them. I mean, hey, that's pretty cool, It's better than feeling alone. It's better than having, like, a mindset that leaves you in isolation. And I can say this too, as I was saying those words, like, because I'm not I'm not meditating as much as I used to, and
Hmm.
my wife and I have gone to church a few times in the past month, trying out different churches in our
Hmm.
neighborhood and stuff. But I'm not in like my most particularly religious or mystical mode right now. But I even just, I think it was like yesterday maybe, or the day before, there is this one sign that I see, that like for me is kind of like the flicker of like, oh wait, right, like I'm just a character in this little video game, like this, there's a bigger reality out there.
Hmm.
So I don't have a big, doctrinal relationship with the concept of the Trinity, but I was raised Catholic, so I don't have a problem with the idea of the Trinity. So anyway,
I do.
there's well, there's this sign that appears in the natural world to me to remind me that
Hmm.
it's like, oh yeah, like God is here, God is with me, God wants me to remember that this is whatever. And it's a very simple thing. It's three birds. I just like walked outside and I was just like looking over the building across from where I live, and I just saw these three birds flying together. And
Hmm.
for years and years and years now, this has been the thing for me, is just like whenever I just see three, and it happens so often. And maybe there's a reason in nature why birds go together in groups of three or whatever. Maybe I'm making something out of nothing, but for me, whenever I see like three birds just like flying together, it's like, ah, oh, yes, like this is a reminder. Like I make the sign of the cross. I'm like, this is a reminder for me, from God, that like, that it's like, oh yeah, I'm with you, I'm here. Like don't
Hmm.
forget, like, you know, and who, what is God? I don't know. If I know, I don't. If I don't, I don't remember. I think it's one of those words. It's like a placeholder for something that there aren't really words for. And I feel like I probably said that the last time we talked. But I'm
Yeah.
not trying to convince you of anything, Sam.
No,
I'm not trying to win you over. I'm not trying to make you join my church.
I'm not trying to take your faith away either. I'm glad we
Oh,
can,
you couldn't do that if you wanted to.
Okay, good. Good.
I've had too much direct experience.
Yeah, see, maybe that's just the thing. Maybe I just haven't had it, or maybe I'm not perceiving or categorizing it in that way. Um, because I don't know. I'm at a point where it's like I feel like I also don't know what reality ultimately is. I think nobody does, but
Yeah.
I think when things happen in my life where I'm like, wow, that's maybe a synchronicity, or I see something like that, then I think I am more prone to be like, wow, maybe I have this intuition somehow, this deep wisdom somewhere that led me to make this decision that I didn't even know it was actually the right decision, or didn't even know I would meet this person at this place, but it just kind of happened this way. And maybe if things went
Mm-hmm.
differently, I would have met a different person. It would have worked out differently. I also like to think of myself as an optimist, so I feel like regardless, things kind of always work out. At least in my personal life. But then when I look at the whole relationship to God thing, it's like, okay, what about all these people that are suffering? And I think we brought this up last time as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's like, okay, like maybe you could have a relationship with something that gives you little hints of what to do or something. But then I just can't square it with the reality of so many other people who don't even have the capacity to even think about these things because they're running from bullets or whatever. And maybe those are different. Those are different. Maybe I'm trying to square things too much with the whole world all the time. Maybe I should just start with my own life, but
Well,
does
I
that
mean, my
you know?
mind is jumping to a lot of different places, like a lot of different responses. I'm trying to give you the space to speak, of course. Um, I mean, for one, God isn't the one who's shooting those bullets at the other person, right? Like it's people shooting at other people, and
Right.
that's what, like Sartre has said, hell is other people, right? Like
Hmm.
most of the problems in this world are not divine issues. Most of the problems in this world are people still trying to or needing to try to behave more lovingly towards one another, and not act like, like crazy tribalistic animals or whatever. And like different people are
But we're made in
at
His
different
image.
stages in, huh?
We're made in His image, though.
Yeah, we there is an element of that. There is also an element of we're in animal bodies, and we have animal instincts, and and some of us have certain degrees of lead poisoning, and other issues that are affecting our neurology. Microplastics, and yeah, all of those things. But anyway. When you first started responding, like, because when I said, like nothing that you're going to say is going to shake the faith that I have, because my faith is born out of direct experience, right? Like the thing for me about that is that, when in the Gospels Jesus talks about like having the faith of a mustard seed, right?
Yeah.
Like that word faith is not the same thing as believing because somebody else told you. That word faith is believing because you have had direct experience yourself, and so like, and yeah, I mean maybe my sense making, like another person, especially someone who's coming with a critical mind would be like, well, I can discount your reasoning as fantastic thinking, or blah blah blah, or sense making, like, okay, whatever, I guess, like, and but yeah, I don't know, I feel like it's the sort of thing where I feel like, yeah, like the people who have the strongest personal faith about these sorts of things are the sorts of people that have had their own kinds of direct experiences.
Yeah.
And sometimes those direct experiences might be sense making out of rather mundane things, and sometimes those experiences might be sense making around things that are otherwise, just like profound or unexplainable. And honestly, like, just because that person has had that experience, like it you might, if they telling you about their experience, you might be like, well, wow, yeah, like that's interesting, and I can see how it would influence you in that way. But until you yourself have had that sort of experience, it makes sense that it's not, like, if it's not a personal experience, if it's not a personal story, it's not going to have that same kind of personal impact. And so I guess I would say to you, Sam, why don't you do something with your life that really just kind of creates more exposure, like,
to what?
Go, huh?
Exposure to what? Like
Exposure to divine intervention, like going on a big journey, doing something risky, crazy, like something that, like walking across a chasm where the bridge is not visible, that sort of thing. I'm not saying like literally like try to walk across the Grand Canyon without a bridge, but you know what I'm saying, like something in your life that requires a kind of mysterious, like something that isn't planned out, something that something where you just don't know how it's going to work until it does.
Yeah. Well, in a way, I feel like my life over the past, honestly, ever since leaving the US, has been very chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
But mostly like when it comes to jobs and moving and those things. But those are relatively mundane, I guess. You're talking about like an adventure, like the Lord of the Rings. I need some kind of ring to bring somewhere. Like,
Well, I mean, if that's not the sort of thing that you want to do, I did this adventure of walking across the country.
how long did it
because
take,
it
by
was
the way?
something. Well, so a couple of caveats. One, I didn't walk all the way, like from the East Coast to the West Coast. I made it about a third of the way across the country. I made it from the East Coast of Florida to like Northwest Arkansas. So it's about 1,000 miles.
That's insane, though.
That took me about 4 months, and I was not walking every day, and I didn't walk the whole 1,000 miles. I walked like 730 of those miles.
Okay.
It took me about 4 months. Different people would stop, like give me places to stay. So I stopped and stayed different places for a week or two here and there on multiple occasions.
Wow.
On the days when I did walk, I was walking like 18, 20 miles a day, and just like sleeping in the woods off the side of the road, that kind of thing. It was great. It was great. Honestly, it was great. But again, like I did that because that desire had been burning in me to do it. I mean, when I did it, I was 33. Well, I was turned 33, so I was 32, turning 33, and I had the desire to do it since I was like 19 or 20.
Damn,
so
okay,
I
wow.
had really, like, that had been smoldering in me for like 12, 13 years. So I don't know if there's anything in you that it's like, oh, I've been wanting to do this for the past decade and I just haven't, it just hasn't happened yet. But if there is something in you that's like that, like, do it, man, or at least like start figuring out how to take the steps towards it. Because
So it has to be scary.
I don't know.
It has to be a leap of faith.
It doesn't have to be scary. It has to be. It has, honestly, I think whatever it is, like, it has to be authentic. It has to be the thing. Like, it has to be the authentic thing in you that's like, and for some people maybe it's writing a book, or this or that, or whatever, learning an instrument. It could be anything.
Yeah.
But whatever the thing is, that's like, like, and I guess if you want to play with the hero's journey or whatever, like, the call, what is the call for you, and have you heeded it or not, right? Because ultimately, like, life is short. Like, whether you're looking at it from the sense of like, oh, like, life passes like a vapor, and even if you live to be 80 years old, like, when you look back on it, it'll just feel like it just passed like that. Or, like, tragedies happen and people die young, and life could be very short.
Honestly,
I want to ask you, or no, okay, go ahead.
But remember what you're gonna ask me, okay? I kind of feel like this podcast is this for me a little bit, and I know it's kind of it's a podcast, but honestly, talking about faith and publishing the videos, and I'm not getting a lot of views, but I know people from, like, people who I grew up with in the church that I grew up with, and my family, some of them watch those videos, and initially that was a little scary because, like, me with my immediate family, we kind of ignore this topic because we're not great at conflict or communication, and so we just kind of avoid the topic. But me putting out this kind of authentic content that speaks to the very core of, like, the tension that is going on in my family and so forth, to me this kind of is a very authentic thing, and something that I actually had been thinking about for a couple of years. Like, I started this podcast when I was in uni or in college, about, I don't know, like 5 years ago, but only like for a couple episodes, but I never kind of, like, this idea never really let go of me, and so this is only the 8th episode, so excluding my mini sitting with Sam, so I've only done like about 10 of these little videos, but I think kind of this faith topic is something that isn't letting me go, or I also don't want to let go of it. And I sit with you, I sit with people who have all sorts of kind of perspectives on this thing, and I'm always kind of like here being the agnostic that I am, but also having empathy and sympathy towards Christianity and faith, but not quite getting it anymore.
Yeah.
But I want
Well,
to
so
get it.
I want to ask you
Yeah.
about that. So of the guests that you have, and forgive me, I haven't listened to
No, it's fine.
many of the other podcast episodes. There was one, I think, where you were talking to a woman, I think, that you were in uni with together, who's like hyper Catholic or something.
Yeah, yeah. Emilia reached out.
Yeah.
Shout out.
So, how so like what has the mix been for you? Has it are like of the people you're talking to, like what percentage of them still have a kind of faith or are now atheist or agnostic like yourself, or what do you think that the numbers look like as far as that goes?
Let me look at the YouTube right now. I think I've only had believers on. Okay, here we go.
You've only had one person on who basically doesn't have a kind of faith at this point, or?
So the first person was Steve Campbell. I had him on, which was fun because he actually is in the denomination that my family is a part of, except he's in the U.S.
Yeah.
He lives in Jersey. But he's great because I actually can have like an open conversation with him. I don't have to kind of pretend to believe something I don't, he's a really great guy. Then you were the second person. Emilia Rista, the Catholic, was the third person. Then I did two solo videos, and then I guess I only had another fourth guest, Michael, and he isn't a Christian per se, but he grew up Christian, and then he kind of turned the Eastern way, in quotes and with an asterisk and whatever. But he's like a spiritual person, I would say.
Yeah.
And then you are returning as a guest. So I've never had an atheist on, partially because I feel like atheists are kind of boring. Like, what are we going to talk about with them? Okay, what don't you believe? Like,
those guys are the worst.
Like, I have to find a good one. But yeah, I love talking to people who have some kind of conviction, and where I can then be like, I can kind of try to extract maybe their perspective a little bit, or maybe they can give me like a little impulse of like, this is how faith feels like to me, or yeah. But remember when I cut you off and you had a question?
Well, I don't know, actually. Do you consider yourself to be a techno-optimist?
No, I mean, I consider myself an optimist, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier.
What is that optimism? What is that for you?
Honestly, I think it's at least partially just my natural disposition. So it's not like, like necessarily grounded in something that I would be able to.
You don't have philosophical rigor around it or anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like not necessarily. And I'm happy to admit that too. I do think it's also like.
Yeah.
No, I know. I'm happy to say though, I feel like it's just something that just works. Like, it's one of those things that we were talking about earlier. Like, if you're looking for things, like seeing is believing. It's kind of like this reinforcement thing. Like, those things are just true. If something works, it works. Like, if you're an optimistic person, if you're a kind person, like, don't be a doormat. But if you have some self-respect and if you're also kind, like, people are gonna be nicer to you than if you're an asshole. Like, it's not necessarily like spiritual. It's just true. So I'm an optimist in the sense that I think I'm kind of just built that way, in the same way that some people are just built to be more sad, I think, or have a more negative outlook. I think some of it is just biological, but I think some of it is also just, it just makes sense to me. Like, I've just been in too many situations where, I even have a coworker, like, she's like this older lady, she's super sweet. But she's always like, oh, when you walk in here, she has like this accent, she's Greek. I can't do it now because she speaks German and I can't do the Greek accent. But just imagine, like an old Greek lady.
Imagine a German speaker with a Greek accent.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Okay.
but she's like, oh, like when you come in here, you're like a sunshine, and I'm like, oh, that's sweet. Like even her saying that, makes me want to
Yeah.
be optimistic. So,
Well, okay, and so now that we're here, and this is just an hour and 10 minutes in, I'm reminded, I think, of an exchange that we had because you were talking about this new job, and I was talking about how my philosophy, my optimistic look, or whatever, is like it doesn't really it doesn't really matter what you do in your life,
right.
as much as it matters how you're doing it, right? Like
Amen.
whether you're a well-paid graphic designer or a CEO or blah blah blah, or just like a clerk at a grocery store, right? Like it's like what you're doing isn't as important as how you're doing it, and how you're treating the people around you, and the way that you the way that you're present,
Yeah. No, 100%. And I feel like kind of something that's been a kind of recurring thought that I have had too, and I maybe you can relate to this, is like, when it comes to all this philosophy stuff, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. What really matters, like, I think the way you solve philosophy is like how you like practice. It's not some theory. It's not some like, it's like what works in your life that makes your life better. And of course, truth is important, but it's not going to be some writing by Wittgenstein or anyone else, even though that might tickle some like intellectual balls. It's like, but what works in your life to make you more fulfilled? And
well, and I have this blooming in me that I want to say too, is that like on the whole topic of faith and all of that, like I really feel like there's a lot of value in what St. Francis said, about how, like, and I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I've said this so many times in the past, maybe I even said this the last time we talked, but, be preaching the gospel all of the time to everyone that you meet, but you really only use the words when it's absolutely necessary, right? Like whether it's belief or faith or experience or dogma or blah 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 blah, whatever, like, hey, if you can just be loving, like that's it, like.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about convincing anybody. You just have to be kind.
Yeah. Totally. I see. That's why I like your bio too. It's just like friend, right? It's because I was talking with someone as well about this, I was talking to a Christian person, and we talk about a different Christian person who we both know very intimately, and how this other person that we're talking about, they know so much about the Bible. They're so like intellectual about it. They know all the references, all the things. But at the end of the day, the two commandments are, love God with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself. And I feel like that kind of collapses the Christian way function or whatever. Like,
well, it depends on the Christian.
sure, yeah, but yeah, totally.
I mean,
like
honestly, because like the church that Cassie and I just went to on Sunday, the homily was way too long and incredibly boring, but by the end of it, he got to the same nugget, of like what is Jesus teaching us? He's teaching us how to be friends, like. And I'm sitting and I looked over at Cassie, with a little wink of like, oh, actually, I think I pulled up my bio and I'm like, look, it's friend, because like what Jesus talks about, like there is no greater gift in life than to give your life for a friend, and the Buddha says, like no ananda, 100% of the path is friendship, like, and figuring out, what is it really to be a friend compared to being a flatterer is something
Yeah.
that I think it was Aristotle talks about. Like really, like there's so much to this friendship, and yeah, yeah, definitely, yeah. You can get you can fill your head with a lot of stuff and nonsense, and have all these mazes and things, but yeah. Yeah, the real cheese is in the friendship.
Yeah. I do think, because you said mazes, I think that's good. I do think a little philosophizing is necessary if you are indoctrinated. y- Like, if you are
Oh,
indoctrinated, like
sure.
I was, you have to kind of walk the maze backwards, and you have to kind of
Yeah.
do the spiel to get out, and then you can be like, oh, like,
Yeah.
it's not that difficult.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I'm not. I've done any amount of convoluted thinking in my
Right.
life, and yeah, and sometimes like the best way to untangle a knot, like you got to know
Right.
something about that knot in order to untie
Exactly.
it. Like it takes some sort of convoluted thinking to simplify a convoluted
Mm-hmm.
mind, for sure. For me, I'm just a complete simpleton. Like,
You're talking down to yourself. Like a true
no.
European.
That's false modesty, or maybe perfect honest modesty. I don't know. All right. So let's wind this down.
Yeah.
What else you got, Sam?
I don't know if we talked about this last time. If so, I can't really remember. So we might as well talk about it again.
Okay.
Earlier we said like we don't really know what ultimate reality is, and I kind of think it's nobody will ever know. But when it comes to like a theory of consciousness or something, do you have thoughts about that?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's basically, like there's physicalism or materialism, right? That kind of things. Okay, everything happens in the brain. There's like neurons firing, and that creates consciousness. But consciousness itself is also a material process. Then there's like the inverse of that, right? That is idealism, I think. Everything is consciousness, or that the material is a manifestation of consciousness, and that consciousness is like a priori. Then there's like the
Mm-hmm.
in between, right? Dualism. The last thing is like panpsychism, Philip Goff thing, that like consciousness is in everything, that like the material, the matter is made out. Or I don't really understand that one, to be honest.
Okay.
Um, do you have some thoughts on that? Do you have any? Do you even think about that stuff? Do you care about that stuff? Or do you think about how weird consciousness is? Like I think about that sometimes. Like how weird is it?
Like, what do you mean?
Like if you take like evolution for if you appreciate that evolution probably happened,
Sure.
even if
Yeah,
it
I mean,
doesn't really
I
matter
think
who started
evolution
it
is
or
a
whatever. Right.
credible
Thank you.
scientific
Okay,
theory.
good. Okay, good. Like it's just so odd that we would evolve, or anything would evolve the
Well, okay, so
capacity.
here's where my mind keeps going, is you're asking questions about
Yeah.
consciousness, right? Like, and I guess this is the hard question, or this is related in some way to the hard question. And I feel like it's hilarious. Like I said, let's wind this down, and you're like, okay, let's talk about the hard question of consciousness. Okay, so a spider, right? Like, do you consider a spider to be a conscious being or not? Because I personally do.
It has some level of consciousness. Yeah. Very
Okay.
lightly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like
Because
a spider
it
or a
makes
squirrel
decisions
or
and
a
stuff.
bird or whatever, right? Like it
Yeah. Yeah.
has
Yeah.
very much the same sort of sensory inputs that we have, and it responds to stimuli, which is something that we also do. I mean, we
Yeah.
have a prefrontal cortex, so we have a heightened sense of self, and we're able to like make scratches on papers so we can get really convoluted and have different Wittgensteins or whatever. But I mean, fundamentally, we are just like animal bodies responding to stimuli, whether that
Mm-hmm.
stimuli is from the external world or whether that stimuli is our own convoluted maze or whatever. So, and this I would say is me being persuaded by the things that I've read other people say or whatever, like, and again, God not necessarily being an individual being or whatever, but like the fabric from which all of reality is woven, right? Like it's all imbued with this, kind of like microplastics, right? Like imagine God as a microplastic, right? Like there is nothing in which like the microplastic is not present at this point.
So scary. It's so scary. It's the worst, but the best analogy.
So yeah, I don't know. I like, but I mean, but in our world, right? Like you could pick up a rock, and the rock doesn't have microplastics in it at this point. It may have microplastics on it, but it doesn't have, like, they're not in there because the microplastics haven't existed since before the universe, like the material universe was formed. But I do think that, like the underlying something, that which underlie, like, right, like, and again, like God is just a word to point at a thing that can't really be described, right? Like whatever the base code of reality is, right? Like that does imbue, like, and if you want to get into like physics, right, like whether it's like quarks or muons or hadrons or whatever, right? Like there's something deep down in like the underlying base code of our reality that permeates every part of it. And so maybe this is like a panpsychic, panentheist kind of view where like there is no, like, at that base level, like there is no separation between any of the composite parts of the gross reality that we see and that we interact with. And when you get into like, people who have had like really, really profound mystical experiences or near-death experiences or whatever, like they'll say like, yeah, like, like God is in like all things. And I think that's true. I think that yeah, like, but again, just like 5 pounds of a rock has the same amount of God in it as 5 pounds of me does, but like that rock is never going to say these words because rocks don't have mouths, just like that spider is never going, like the spider can do things the rock can't do, I can do things the spider can't do, but like ounce for ounce and pound for pound, like we're all fundamentally like the same. That's what I believe.
Okay. Yeah, I have no idea what I believe. Once again, agnostic. But I think.
Well, I guess. I mean, to me, that like I feel like I just made a reasonable argument. I feel like like it makes
it sounds
makes a certain
yeah.
kind of sense. Yeah.
Yeah, you're kind of in the panpsychist tent, kind of maybe that like consciousness permeates everything. It's getting more popular this year for sure.
I mean, I don't know if I was directly making that claim necessarily, but I also.
But related.
I'm not the smartest guy. I'm really mid. I've got kind of a smooth brain, I've done too much damage in here. I didn't go to university. Like I'm just.
Bro,
I'm just
I went to art school. That doesn't count.
All right. Well, I hope that you, or if anybody's foolish enough to listen to all of this, that somebody got something out of it.
Hey, man. I think the thing I got out of it is I have to go on an adventure and look for God.
Embrace the opportunity for the unknown to meet you.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's the best. That's a good thing to end on.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you. I appreciate you inviting me to sit and chat with you some more. I enjoy us talking.
I enjoy talking too, and you'll be back again at some point, I'm sure.
Okay.
This was not a question; it was a statement.
Very good.
But yeah, no, thank you, Luke. I appreciate you sitting with Sam. Part
thank
2.
You, Sam.
And have a good run, with your wife. If you guys going?
Yeah, we're going as soon as
Sweet.
I get up and go get changed.
All right,
Yep.
I'll see you on Twitter probably next. Okay. Have a good day, man. Bye.
All right, bye.